Hey everybody, welcome to Moment of Clarity. I hope this is working. The video has been shit the past few times. So hopefully it's a little better this time. Anyway, I thought now would be a good time, considering all the protests, considering that protesters are now being killed, considering counter-protesters and the endless police brutality that's going on in so many cities. Portland and Kenosha, obviously, are the two biggest ones people are talking about. But considering all of this that's going on and it being talked about in the mainstream media, I thought now would be a good time to go through 7 or so of the dumbest, fucking idiotic arguments to defend the cops in this whole thing. To be against protesters and against those standing up for things like Black Lives Matter and for things like police accountability and a complete change to our policing system. I think now would be a good time to go through just how dumb some of these arguments are. You probably hear these on your mainstream media. You probably hear them from friends and family. Hopefully it's just an uncle, but it may be your father who's like, let's start with number one. But they were looting. There was looting going on, and you're going to be looting, and you're going to get shot and killed. That's how that works. You steal a beer, I'll kill you. I hope in that simple impersonation you realize how dumb this argument is. But they were looting. Okay, first of all, no, all of them were not looting. Let's say there's a few looting, a few people looting these stores. Let's just, for the sake of argument, say, yes, these are real people who actually were just like, now is my chance to steal some shit. That still is not a death sentence. That is no justification for a death sentence. And nowhere in our laws will you see someone steals a beer, fucking shoot him in the head. Nowhere in our, how fucking great are these beers and these electric razors that they deserve to be killed if they're taken, that the person deserves to be shot if they get a 6-pack of beer. That is not how our system works. You do not get capital punishment for stealing a fucking beer. So even in the initial argument when people go, well, they were looting, already they've conceded they have no argument. They have no argument for why these protesters should be shot or should be beaten. Now, if you want to pass a law that says someone steals a beer, someone steals a razor, someone steals something from a sporting goods store, then they can be beaten within inches of their life and locked away for 20 years, then fine, I'd like to see that. I think you'd be an awful, evil asshole who should burn in hell with red-hot pokers up your ass, but you can pass that law, and then you'd have a discussion. Well, that is the law. The law is you steal a beer, you get shot. But we don't have that law. So your argument is already fucking idiotic. And of course, there's the fact that most of them are not looting. And then there's the fact that, someone, I love it, like during these natural disasters, or they'll say, oh, they were looting. And it's like, dude, they were trying to survive, all right? They were in the middle of a fucking hurricane, couldn't get any baby formula. That's not looting, that's called surviving. But beyond all that, then, of course, you have the fact that Wall Street is looting far, far, far more than these people could ever, than the actual looters, real-life looters, could ever hope to take on the streets, going into a store, robbing a store. They could never steal anywhere near, in millions of years, they could not take what Wall Street has looted from the American people. It's just called a different thing, right? It's just called good old unfettered capitalism. It's called good business practice. It's called being a hedge fund manager. That's what it's called when you're a looter, when you're a big time looter. When you're a small time looter, apparently you watch people that watch Fox News think you deserve to be shot in the head. But if you're a big time looter, if you really extract billions upon billions of dollars from the American people into a tiny number of hands, then you're just awesome. You're a hero. You deserve to be on the front of Time magazine, as some of these people are. So there's that kind of looting. And then there's the fact that police, if you talk about street crime, police actually loot more than the people who loot. because now civil asset forfeiture is above the amount that actually is stolen on the streets. So civil asset forfeiture, sometimes I talk faster than the words can actually all go together. Civil asset forfeiture is where the police grab just all kinds of shit because they say it was connected to a crime, or in some cases, literally someone was doing a drug deal in front of someone's house and they just take the house from the person, or they'll take a car nearby. They just take all kinds of shit. Of course, they take the drugs, and they do those in the back room at the police station. But so civil asset forfeiture is now above the amount that's actually stolen in street crime. So cops are bigger looters on average than the people supposedly robbing people on the streets. Let's go to argument number 2. They were being mean to the police. They were yelling things, and then one cop got hit with a water bottle. Still not a capital punishment. I'm sorry. Still not. That is not the law. The law is not cop gets hit with some water and he then gets to beat people to a pulp or shoot their eye out with a rubber bullet or use tear gas on them, which is against the Geneva Convention, except when you use it on your own people, or send concussion grenades at them. That is not the punishment for getting hit with water. In fact, if it weren't a cop, if it were someone else, and if you get hit by water, what's the rule is usually you go, hey, and that's the end of the punishment. That's it. You hit the person with a water bottle and they're like, ow, end of story. It doesn't usually go through the courts. It's not usually a big deal. But you're telling me if it happens to a cop that therefore they have the right, because they are the fist of the fascist state, to beat the living shit out of someone or arrest them, put them away for 10 years, those kind of things. Yeah, again, makes no sense. It's completely not. I mean, because the people doing this, the people defending cops in these arguments, claim that they're like somehow holding up the rule of law. Well, the rule of law does not say that you can fucking put someone in prison for 20 years because they threw a water bottle, or destroy their lives, upend their lives. People get their lives destroyed because a cop got pissed off at them and decided to beat them and arrest them, or like I said earlier, shoot their eye out with a rubber bullet. It's fucking insane. So, to act like, I don't defend the protesters because I saw a video once where they were rude to the police. That's a terrible argument. If you want to defend the cops and be against the protesters, against those standing up for various things. I mean, right now, Black Lives Matter is probably the biggest thing, but and defund the police, et cetera, but there have obviously been many other protests that have ended in police brutality, Occupy being a big one. And so if you want to defend the cops, then at least come with a good argument. Come for why that this is justifiable. But most of the reasons they give are not. They were looting. You don't get to kill people because of that. If they're looting, which, like I said, that's also a horseshit. Just the fact that there was looting is also generally a horseshit idea. I mean, there's usually infiltrators and things like that. But I was saying, let's suspend disbelief and just assume there is some looting, and that still doesn't justify being against the protesters, against those fighting back. Then they go, well, in a police, other reason they defend the police when, like, the police have killed someone, shot someone, killed someone like George Floyd, shot someone like Jacob Blake. They say, well, they had to shoot him because they didn't know what the guy was reaching for. That's one of their favorites, right? Listen, you're a cop, you're in that moment, you don't know what the guy's reaching for. Okay, let's say you don't. You don't know what the guy is reaching for. You don't get to kill people because you don't know what they're reaching for. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. I get that you may have a scary job. If you decide to bring a gun and thrust yourself into someone's life, that can make a job scary. I'm sorry, it's scary for you. You still don't get to shoot people because you didn't know what they were reaching for. And that's how you end up in all these the time after time after time. The guy was reaching for a wallet. The guy was reaching for a cell phone. The guy was reaching for nothing. The guy was just happened to have his hand in his pocket. You know, the guy was reaching for his license in a car. All these things that time and again you read these stories of people being killed, shot because they were reaching for their license or their cell phone or whatever. Which is because cops have gotten the idea, and a lot of Americans have gotten the idea that cops get to kill people because they didn't know what they were reaching for. No, I'm sorry your job is scary because you've decided to run up after people with a gun. But you have made that scary for yourself, and now you don't get to say, but I didn't know what they were reaching for. Now, as I'm not going to go through all the reasons that 99% of cops should not exist because it should be done by other jobs, but let's take the 1% that I think, you don't have to call them police officers, you can call them something else, the 1% that I think should still exist, which is the rare SWAT team that's needed for an actual, like, fucking full-on hostage situation, like terrorist moment that are incredibly rare. In those moments, then you've got guns versus guns that are clearly demarcated lines. There's a guy pointing a gun at us, and we are pointing guns back at them. Like, that then becomes this clear scenario. Whereas most of the time, 99% of the time, cops are running up on people with their guns, not knowing what they're thrusting their fucking faces into. You know, like with George Floyd. I mean, let's go through some of these. Like with George Floyd, they came up on him because they said he used a counterfeit $20 bill. Let's suspend disbelief and say he knew he was using a counterfeit 20. He wanted to use a counterfeit 20. Still, what if he'd gotten away with that? Oh my God, he would have used a fake $20 bill. Holy flying shit. However, instead, you came and killed the guy. You see how one of those is more drastic than the other? You see why you shouldn't be running up on people with guns? Then you look at Jacob Blake, the latest one. Well, we didn't know what he was reaching for. Doesn't matter. You came up on somebody who was trying to stop a fight or whatever. Whatever the fuck was going on. It didn't involve guns until they came running up with guns. And then shot somebody because they didn't know what he was doing. That's not how any society, any rational society should work. We didn't know he was doing, so we figured kill him. And we didn't know, kill. Step one, kill the guy. Step two, figure out if he was doing something that deserved killing. That cannot be how our fucking society works, assholes. Oh, I don't even know where I was on this list. I kind of get lost. But, we didn't know what he was reaching for. Then I kind of already addressed this. He could have had a gun. Yeah, I agree that sucks. That in America, anybody could have a gun. That is true. However, you don't have to be running into people's houses with your guns. If it is something very serious that you need to arrest someone for in their house, like let's say you have real video proof that this person has killed someone, and now that you know the house they're in, and you want to arrest them, you could stand outside their house and wait till they come out. And you don't need to go running in there with guns and see how many innocent bystanders you can accidentally kill. And I agree, that may take some time. They may have upwards of 3 days worth of food in there. But that's fucking okay. It's worth not killing people, you fucking assholes. Oh, he could have had a gun. And, you know, if people are pulling guns on people and threatening to kill them, yeah, there should be some sort of punishment for them. But you don't get to shoot him. You don't get to shoot him because you thought maybe he had a gun, maybe, possibly. There was a bulge in his pants and we were afraid. Yeah, some people got big dicks. The bulges are in pants sometimes. Maybe he's got prostate cancer. That doesn't mean you get to kill him. And then they say, oh, well, he had a knife. That's the other one, right? Or Jacob Blake, they said there was a knife in the car. Again, it does not make any functioning society. There cannot be armed assholes walking around who kill people if they see them with a knife. Okay? That, again, that's not the law. Hey, that guy had a knife. Well, capital punishment. Get out the hangman's noose. It's time to hang this guy because he had a knife. That is not our rule of law. That is not how any functioning society works. I agree. If he's swinging a knife at you, that's not a cool thing for him to be doing, but you still shouldn't be killing him. Here's an idea. If some asshole gets out a knife and decides to start pointing it at a cop, then how about the cop leave? Wouldn't that fucking ease things a little bit? And because you already have his license plate number, right? You already probably know who the guy is. You probably know where he lives. You could get in your car, roll up the window real fast. They've got the old kind of windows. Roll up the window real fast. And then if he gets in his car, you can drive after him, follow him, see where he lives. And then you can arrest him later when he's not waving a knife. When tempers have cooled. I agree. People should not pull out a knife and fucking point it at a cop. But if a guy does that, still shouldn't kill him. Still shouldn't kill someone just because they got a knife. A knife is not going to get you from 10 feet away without you being able to handle it. Unless you're just scared as fuck and firing your gun around, which seems to be what a lot of these cops are told to do or trained to do. And I've gone over the hours of training before on previous videos, but it's, over 100 hours on how to shoot their gun in like 8 hours, maybe on de-escalation. Those are the averages. I'm sure some police departments probably don't have any on de-escalation. So they're just taught to shoot things. Don't calm the situation at all. Just shoot it. And then they get most cops in a lot of cities get less training than beauticians, hairstylists, working with electric signs. You need like 4,000 hours of apprenticeship to work with an electric sign in Michigan. And the cops, you need 100 hours, 200 hours. Working with electric signs. No wonder electric sign workers have not been killing a lot of black people. I think that's why. Because they get some training that makes it so they know to do their goddamn jobs. But seriously, I wasn't kidding about, if a guy has a knife, and he's like, what if you just leave? Or get in your car? Cops are trained that their job... Now, it'd be different if the guy were running around actively stabbing people. Hey, here's a child. Oh, killed him. Oh, mailman killed him. All right, that's different. That's incredibly rare. In fact, I've never even heard of it. But if the guy has not killed someone and is just standing there with a knife, killing him is not the fucking answer. And we can't have this discussion, right? And the discussion on Fox News, yes, of course, but even CNN is well, they didn't know if he had a knife. I don't give a fuck. You just can't just fucking kill people because he's holding a knife. And when I said I wasn't kidding, it's literally you can calm the situation. This guy probably has a lot of issues. He's probably mentally ill. But even if he's not mentally ill, he probably has other life issues. Wife just left him. Fucking shit went down. I'm not saying that justifies swinging a knife around. But I'm saying if you chill the situation out, get in your car, leave if you have to, pull around the block and watch him and see where he goes. See what he does. Then at that point, if he starts chasing the mailman around, then you can go get him. But if he just gets in his car, smokes some cigarettes, chills the fuck out, and then you can go up and say, hey, I think we need to bring you in for the knife thing. And at that point, he's not going, ah! Be a lot better. Be a lot better. But what I was going to say is cops are trained with this kind of attitude, or they go in with this attitude. A lot of them become cops because they already have this attitude. So it's the chicken or the egg thing. Do cops join the force because they're the fucking maniacs who want to have the power, want to have the gun on their hip, some of them? Or do they slowly get changed by the job? Hey, I got a gun on my hip and everybody fucking listens to me and no one can tell me no and I can do all the wrong shit in the world and I'm never fired. Does that change a person? Probably. So you can have both. You can have all the chickens and the eggs that you want. But they have the mindset. Most police officers have the mindset of, I'm going to win every situation. My job is to win every situation. Now, like I said, in the few rare instances where it is like a fucking murderer or some guy who's fucking beating someone, or the hostage situation. These are incredibly rare instances, but in those instances, there's a reason the cop is meant to win that situation, because he or she is trying to stop more harm. But in whatever 99%, 98% of these interactions with cops, why do they need to win that minute? I get you want to arrest the guy who waved the knife or the guy who was being an asshole. But if it's safer to not do that, then don't do that. What was the one, the horrific one in, I think it was South Carolina, where the video came out of the cop just shooting the guy in the back after he got away? That cop did that, shot that guy in the back as he was running away, because the cop just thought, he didn't think that guy was dangerous. He didn't think that guy was going to get him. The guy was running away. He just thought, I'm going to win. Look at me win. Boom. And that's what they think, that they have to win every situation. But that's not what they should be trained. They should be trained in these certain circumstances. Your job at all costs is to, terrorist got one of those big cartoon bomb things, bomb ignition things, whatever the hell those things are called. But he's got one of those, like a cartoon villain, and he's about to push it down. Plunger, I guess. The explosion plunger. And in that situation, okay, your job is to stop the guy from doing that. But they should be taught that in most situations, your job is not to win. Your job is to maybe arrest the people if it's easy. But if it's a high speed, how many people get killed in like high speed chases? Just fucking people get run over, crashed into, all kinds of shit go down, because what are the cops thinking? They're thinking, I'm going to fucking win this. You already have the guy's license plate. He's not going far. And if he ends up on the lam going state to state because he ran from you trying to give him a speeding ticket, fucking let him go. All right, now he's living in fucking Mexico to get away from your speeding ticket. Who gives a shit? How about you won by not killing a bunch of people in a high-speed chase? Anyway. But yeah, a lot of this comes down to why the fuck were the cops there in the first place. Cops should not be... Anyway, I got into that in a video a week or two ago about how cops shouldn't be doing 90% of these jobs. It should be mental health professionals and all these other things so that you wouldn't have fucking assholes with guns running into every situation. But anyway... let's get back to the protesters. Tucker Carlson's defense of the protesters, and not the protesters, of the anti-protesters, the often white supremacist Trump supporters who have come out in order to go up against protesters in order to say, no, Black lives don't matter, yay! Those people. And obviously a couple of them have now killed people. I believe one in Portland, Oregon, two in Wisconsin. Tucker Carlson on Fox News, his response famously was, are we surprised? What do you expect? If there's lawlessness in a town and the kid picks up a rifle to defend his town. Okay. Well, first of all, Tucker Carlson was like, are we surprised that this kid stood up against lawlessness? First of all, yes, you should be surprised and horrified. Fucking no one's job if a group of protesters is out there is to go shoot them to, regain quote unquote lawfulness, which I'll get to that term in a second. But this isn't the Wild West. You're not allowed to just shoot and kill people that upsets you. Like the fucking idiots that Trump had speak who were, on the front of their lawn with the AR-15 because they saw marchers going by. Oh, God forbid. This isn't I'm sorry. I know you liked the Wild West. I know it looked like a lot of fun, before antibiotics and things like that. I know it was a blast where everyone was just uncivilized and you could... if you bonked a woman on the head and grabbed her by the hair, that meant you were married. Yeah, those were great times. Why can't we get back there? Wild West was a fucking hoot. It's not the Wild West. And you can't kill people who just fucking bother you or annoy you or you don't like their politics or whatever. For example, unfortunately. When a CEO pollutes your water with fucking oil or whatever toxins he's putting in there, you don't get to kill him. You don't get to kill the CEO. It's not allowed. And I agree that at times that's kind of upsetting. But still, that's not legal. That guy bothered you. In fact, he could give you cancer. He could kill your family. You still don't get to kill him. Just how it works. And you won't see Tucker Carlson going, are we surprised that this guy stood up and killed that CEO because his water was tainted by that company? I mean, come on. You won't see Tucker Carlson saying that. You don't even get to punch, you're not even allowed to punch a company exec in the face because that corporation cut down all your trees. Or tainted your water and your air with a chemical plant. It's still not legal to punch them in the face. You can sue them in court, maybe have some success there. You can try and stop the fucking tractors. You can lobby your Congress people. But there are things you can do. But legally, you're not allowed to punch them in the face. So, yeah, this is not the answer. And then getting back to the looting and lawlessness, a lot of people had their homes stolen by the banks in the 2008 collapse, and many of those banks could not even prove that they owned those homes, meaning they were not the rightful owners, and yet they still stole the homes, foreclosed on the homes. And was it somehow, I think, as far as I know, it's still illegal to kill those bankers, as far as I know. So there's looting, far more looting. They stole houses. They stole millions of houses. We're not talking a 6-pack of beer. We're not talking a sporting goods store. They got a basketball. We're not talking Target. We're talking homes, millions of homes. And Fox News was not standing up for the protesters to get their homes back, were they? They were fine with that looting. That kind of looting is the cool looting. That's the legal, quote unquote, legal looting. That's what the politicians support. Anyway, you get my point. Then another one of the arguments they make is, well, Trump's been making a lot, right, is Portland is out of control. Portland's out of control. Or whatever city. Kenosha's out of control. In fact, Trump tweeted that Portland's been out of control for a long time, and if they can't get control, then I'll do it, or we'll do it, or something like that. Now, you have to analyze this language to realize just how much manipulation is involved in it. Trump says, Portland's out of control. Well, let's think about what the word control means in that sentence, right? What would in control look like? In control would be the continued complete oppression by violent police forces that kill people on a regular basis. That was in control. In control means the looting of the wealth and resources of the bottom 50% of the country, sucked into the hands of the top 1% or less. That's considered in control. In control is the banks foreclosing on all these homes, stealing them out from under people that they can't even prove ownership a lot of the times. And the reason the people couldn't pay is because they signed these subprime mortgages that were specifically designed, strategically designed to make sure people wouldn't understand what they were signing and understand that one day they would never be able to pay the amount they were being asked. That kind of looting is considered in control. That's the world in control. Trump's view of out of control is where that stops happening, is where the police are not able to oppress effectively, is where people, the average people, the bottom 50% can stand up and can fight back and can be in the streets and demand rights and demand that people of color not be just unceremoniously killed on the streets. That's considered out of control. And it is. It's out of the kind of white supremacist control that this country's been in for a long time. Now, this is not to say that it's all the fault of white people. There are plenty of people of many fine colors and races who have made sure to continue this oppression. I believe at least one of them was president recently. So anyway, that's for him. That's out of control. So what Trump considers in control, and what Fox News considers in control, is a fucking dystopia for a lot of people. It's a utopia for the egregiously rich and those with a lot of power and those who are entitled to walk around with a gun on their hip and arrest someone for a tiny nothing crime and put them in jail for years and destroy their family. That sounds like a great time. And they were enjoying that, and then this is now out of control. This is lawlessness. But what are these laws? You know, many of these laws have been bought out by the rich, you know, for a long time, right? In our initial Constitution, it was written by slave owners and the rich, and so much of it also is meant to continue the power and the plutocracy, the ownership of the society by the wealthy and the white landowning at the time. White male landowning, actually. So since our beginning days, these laws have been meant for a very specific people. And so lawlessness is to go against that. Now, this doesn't mean I support all kinds of, any kind of, so fucking have at it, any kind of violence or riot you want to be involved in, just go to town. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this discussion is far more nuanced. And it's this type of discussion is not even had, right? Because you can't discuss what lawlessness and lawfulness means. That CNN might be better than Fox News on these issues, some of these issues, but covering some of the protests. But they're not gonna. They don't have any guests on who go, well, what do we mean when we say lawlessness? Because apparently it's fine within the laws for corporations to destroy your land like they did in Standing Rock, for corporations to destroy your water, destroy your air, destroy your lead pipes, your water pipes like they did in Flint. It's fine for the rich to push people to the breaking point like they do in the Amazon warehouses. It's fine for the corporations to extract money from the bottom classes at every step. Wage theft is incredibly prevalent in the society, and guess what? Wage theft is not done against the rich; it's done against the poor. It's done against those who are making $8 an hour, and then they go and they look on the thing and it says $7 an hour, and they say, "Where'd that dollar go?" And it's like, "Oh well, the uniform charge." For your uniform, or it was you got to split your tips with the guy who fixes the stove in the back where you flip the burgers, and so that was a stove fee, and also we put on rust proofing. Anyway, point is, wage theft, incredibly prevalent. So those type of things are lawful. They are allowed within our criminal justice system. The criminal justice system is set up for the corporations and the wealthy in many regards. And you see it again and again, right? You saw it with Jeffrey Epstein in the 2008 trial. It wasn't till a lot of media outlets, mostly alternative, started raising a stink that all of a sudden he was going to, until they killed him, he was going to get some sort of perhaps more legitimate trial, more legitimate prosecution. But in 2008, right, that's what the rich get. He got a slap on the wrist for pedophilia and sex charges. He got 6 months in prison, but he was allowed to spend 6 days a week in his office. That doesn't sound like prison, does it? It sounds like office. He was sentenced to office. Another example of how these laws, these courts are rigged for the rich is that in one of the rare instances of a big victory against a corporation, and I'm going to do another segment on Redacted tonight on this soon. Stephen Donziger, the lawyer, the human rights lawyer, the environmental lawyer, won billions of dollars against Chevron for destroying the land and the rainforest and the land of the indigenous and destroying their lives and giving them cancer. And Chevron has now made his life a living hell because the corporations always win. And they've bought off the judges, and they now have Stephen Donziger on house arrest in his apartment in New York. and he can't leave because he won a case against them for killing indigenous people, basically. But I'll get into the details of that another time. Anyway, just thought I'd go through some of these arguments while how people are defending the police right now and how ridiculous it is. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you share this. Please, before you go, click the like and the share and everything. And make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon. And yeah, I'm going to be doing these. I do Moment of Clarity every single weekday except sometimes. Yes, every single day except sometimes. Go to leecamp.com if you ever miss one, and you can catch the new one. All right, keep fighting.